We're gonna make some picks now. I'm just gonna do it myself. I'm gonna go back and forth. And we're gonna pick all 12. If the Ryder Cup were tomorrow, and I'm gonna talk about who's a lock and who is still not a lock. We will start with the lock of all locks on the U.S. side, Scotty Scheffler. Don't really feel like I need to say anything else here. Won 50% of the majors. He's won 12 tournaments in the last 16 months, including 3 out of the 4 majors and a gold medal. So yeah, he's on our team. Europe, Rory McIlroy obviously nailed on there. He is first in the standings, mathematically already clinched it, so Rory will be there. On the U.S. side, number 2, we're going Bryson DeChambeau. Like we said, showed a lot this week and felt like really broke through in links golf in a way that maybe he hadn't before, and a really strong showing. I believe top 10s in 3 of the 4 majors this year, I want to say. Maybe he was in the mix sort of in 3 of the 4 majors this year, and obviously his game feels absolutely perfect for Bethpage. So Bryson's number 2. Number 2 on the European side, we got Tyrrell Hatton. Had an amazing major season. Had his first real chance to win a major at Oakmont. Got a horrible break on the 70th or 71st hole and kind of unraveled there. But another good showing this week, and he talked about how much pride he's taken in being able to stay in the auto points. He won a European Tour event late last year, or maybe it was early this year, but he's managed to keep grabbing points, to keep his stature in the game despite going to live golf. Number 3 for the U.S. is Xander Schauffele. Good week this week. Another really strong finish in a major championship. Obviously not the same major season that it was a couple last year when he won 2 out of the final 3. He won the PGA and the Open, which is exactly what Scotty won this time around, but Xander will be there. Number 3 on the European side, Jon Rahm. He was my pick to win this week. I was disappointed. He was never really a factor this week, but much better major season than last year. Has been so consistent on live. He's an absolute lock. Everybody's lock so far. I'll tell you with the first person who's not a lock. The next lock on the U.S. side is Russell Henley. He missed the cut in the first 2 majors of the year, and only panicked a little bit and parted with Mark Blackburn. And we're going to talk about Mark Blackburn in a second here, because he's really helped Matt Fitzpatrick get back to his form. But he had a good U.S. Open. He's been really, really solid in the signature events. Obviously won at Bay Hill earlier this year, and also just feels like a guy that you compare with anybody, especially in foursomes. A really solid player. Russell Henley will be there. Our next lock on the European side is Tommy Fleetwood. Another guy who was sort of a trendy pick coming into this week. Obviously had that heartbreak at the Travelers, but advanced metrics wise, there are hardly any players who are as consistent on a week-to-week basis as Tommy Fleetwood, and his history in the Ryder Cup, going back to Mollywood with Francesco Molinari. And I remember he hit that incredible shot to seal a match on the drivable par 4 in Italy. So Tommy will be there. JJ Spawn is going to be there. He's the United States Open champion. I think he's going to bring a sort of everyman attitude to the U.S. team. I think people are really going to get behind him at Bethpage, kind of a people's golfer with his background. And this was his first Open that he ever played in this week, which was kind of amazing.
That's what. How did he finish?
He made the cut for sure. Yeah, you tell me. I want to say he finished. Let's see. JJ Spawn in the Open finished tied for 23rd. So
not bad.
Yeah, he shot three under for his last round. Finished at 6 under. So he will be there. Our next lock on the European side is Ludwig Åberg. Also had a bit of a better week after missing the cut in the 2 majors between the Masters and the Open Championship. He missed the cut at the PGA, missed the cut at the U.S. Open. Also finished tied for 23rd. Has not been the year that a lot of us were expecting out of Ludwig, but he'll be there. Justin Thomas, still a lock on the U.S. side, made the cut this week in the Open. Also not a very good year in the majors. He went T36 just like Cantlay in the Masters, then missed the cut in the Open, or in the PGA and the U.S. Open, successfully made the cut. He's been as good as anybody almost in the signature events, and I just think he got the pick last year when he was playing far worse than he is, or last time then he was playing far worse than he is this time. Our next lock on the European side, Victor Hovland, got a win this year. Just a core young member of this team, kind of the newer generation. He's still in his 20s. He's going to be here for the next couple of these. Victor Hovland is a lock. I've got Harris English now as a lock. Another runner-up finish in a major championship. That's 2 this year. He finished runner-up at Quail Hollow as well, and his golf swing, and that's going to be what we're going to talk about. I love his golf swing so much.
That's a sneaky lock too. I mean,
he's a lock.
You hate to see that guy come through.
Yeah, he's become a lock. He was the oldest player, kind of the elder statesman on the team at Whistling Straits, and I remember he was like 34. I think he's probably more closer in his upper 30s now. So he might once again be the oldest player. It's definitely possible, but I'm giving Harris a lock. Our next lock on the European side is Sepp Straka. 2 wins this year, made the cut. He had missed the cut in the first 3 majors of the year, so you never want to go for the Grand Slam that you don't want. Successfully made it this week. Didn't push up the board or anything, but I think 2 wins, winning a signature event, he's just elevated himself to the next level. He's been kind of in the top 10 of the FedEx Cup all year. He's been hanging around the top 10 in the world rankings, so I think Sepp is a lock. Our last lock for the American side is Colin Morikawa, and I know he hasn't necessarily earned it with his play this year, but I just think he's going to be on the team. I think his resume, he's done enough. There are a couple more locks on the European side. One more is Shane Lowry. Shane did not have the best major season. He was kind of in the mix at the Masters before he shot 81 and then missed the cut in the PGA and the U.S. Open. He made the weekend, obviously had that penalty, which we're going to talk about, but I think he's one of the heart and souls in the team room. I think everyone wants him there. He brings a passion and a fire and an energy, and it's also going to be very, very entertaining to watch him because he is one of the most emotional players out there. Feels like every week, he's saying, screw this place, or he's got some sort of issue with something the media has said. Like, there's just a lot that's been going on in the Shane Lowry universe this year, and I think that's all going to be put on steroids in New York. Okay, so we're done with the locks on the American side. I've got Ben Griffin in there. He's losing a little bit of steam, missed the cut this week, but he's been really, really consistent all year in big events, and he had top 10s in the U.S. Open and the PGA Championship. So it's not just like he's done it in these sort of rinky-dink fields. He's done it against, he finished second to Scotty at the Memorial, and just sort of has like we've talked about, a new energy and a new swagger. It feels like
it with swagger too.
It feels like he believes he should be on this team, and I think if it were tomorrow, I think he would get a pick. We've got 2 more locks on the European side. Robert McIntyre, another strong week. He's been really, really good against big fields. Finished solo second to JJ Spawn at the U.S. Open. He's played in the Ryder Cup before, but sort of as a back part of the lineup guy, one of the last guys in. Maybe would play 3 matches. I can see him playing 4 or 5. I think he loves the big moments. We saw him win 2 massive events with a lot of emotional undertones, winning the Scottish Open and winning the Canadian Open. And let's see what Robert McIntyre thinks about that pick. There he is. He likes it. There he is, back to clapping. Back to woo! Wow! He's fired up that he's made the Ryder. Can you believe it? Dan Rappaport picked me to be on the Ryder Cup. What a moment in my career! All right, our next guy on the American side is Keegan Bradley. Something's changed with Keegan. Mm-hmm. Something changed when he won the Travelers. He said, I was never going to be on this team until I won. And then he said, because initially he was saying, I don't know if I can do both. It's just there's so much. No one hasn't done this. No one's done this since Arnold Palmer. Now I've got these amazing vice captains, and I kind of know what it would look like. And I just I found this little interaction from one of his press conferences rather telling. Here's Keegan Bradley.
Have you signed the captain's agreement?
What? That's a strange question. Why?
Well, because if in fact you became a playing captain, I would think that you'd want to have the agreement to have certain things in it that maybe it wouldn't normally have if you weren't playing captain.
We're working on the captain's agreement.
Is that your first time seeing that clip?
Yeah.
I think he's playing.
Yeah, I think
doesn't it seem like now it's a little bit more like, okay, we're starting to make logistical arrangements for this?
Well, yeah, I was going to say he's not only not a lock because of himself.
Correct.
Like because of Captain Keegan.
Correct.
He'd be a lock otherwise.
Yeah, there's no argument in which there are 12 Americans who have been more solid than him.
And there was news this morning they changed the agreement.
Yeah, there was news that came out this morning. I saw that while I was driving in, that Luke Donald agreed to, some clauses that would delegate some responsibilities. And I'm thinking about, when the picks have to be in and who has to submit the final picks and who has to announce the picks as they have those ceremonies. It's going to be hard for Keegan to participate in the ceremony if he's out there on the golf course. It's starting to feel like Keegan's going to play. It's going to add just another wrinkle to a Ryder Cup that we've all been counting down the seconds to. So Keegan Bradley's my 10th on the American side. We've got one more lock on the European side, Matt Fitzpatrick. Mm-hmm. I think it was because of this week. And I wanted to just drop a quick line about Mark Blackburn. We had Mark Blackburn on the show, and he's the number 1 golf coach in America, according to Golf Digest. But he's been fired a lot recently. He was fired by Max Homa after helping him, achieve the highest heights of his career. He was fired by Colin Morikawa after briefly working together. He was fired by Russell Henley. And what he said was, you can't take it personal. You have to have pride in your information. And this guy's been fired a lot, but he just got hired by Matt Fitzpatrick under very unfortunate circumstances. Matt's coach since he was 14 years old. Mike Walker has been a full-time caregiver. His wife is sick, so it's a horrible situation. But Mark got the call, and it's made significant difference in Matt's game. And that just kind of reminded me of what Blackburn was saying, that like golf will humble you even if you're a coach. You're on top of the world. Everyone's lauding how great your work is with Max Homa, and you're number one in Golf Digest list, and then you get fired by a bunch of these guys, and to maintain that sort of belief in yourself, and to see Mark back there, toward the back half of a major championship giving his information, made me very happy to see. So that's our last lock on the European side. Again, these are the guys I'm talking about. The Americans now are also not locks. I've got Brian Harman on there. I just think this is a guy who is probably more appreciated by his peers than the media because of his sort of personality. He does love to troll, it seemed, the British public. He was up there on Friday, and they're asking about hunting, and he's like, I don't understand why this became such a massive story, but I'll say with my chest, like, I'm a proud hunter, which is there's clearly a cultural disconnect, because the Brits view it as like this savage butcher, and he's like, I like to shoot animals.
I don't think I realized that.
He's like, I'm not going to apologize for it. But had another good showing this week, and again, this is sort of more of these spots are up for grabs, but as of right now, I'd probably go with Harman. My 11th spot on the European team, and this is our first non-lock, is Rasmus Højgaard. He had a good week this week. Really hits the ball a really long way, which I think is going to be like up in the low 190s in ball speed, which I think is going to be very important in Bethpage. And we've had our eyes on these Højgaard twins for a long time. Nikolai has played in the Ryder Cup. Rasmus has not gotten it done. This was actually the first tournament I can remember where both of them were up there. It's usually one or the other. You usually attach your everything to one Højgaard horse, and you usually pick the wrong one. But they were both up there this week. But I've got Rasmus up there. He's up there in the points. But again, these last spots are up for grab. And then my last spot for the Americans, if the Ryder Cup were tomorrow, is Chris Gotterup.
Yeah.
Guy won the Scottish Open, finished in the top 5 of the Open Championship. He's got youthful energy. He hits it a really long way. He's from the tri-state area. It just feels like, I don't have Patrick Cantlay on this team. If it were tomorrow, I would go with Gotterup. And my last one for Team Europe is Justin Rose. Yeah. I think he is the lone sort of holdover from that European generation that just gave us work so many times in the Ryder Cup. I'm thinking of Sergio Garcia, and I'm thinking of Ian Poulter and Lee Westwood and Paul Casey, all these guys who went to live and, are sort of on the outside looking in of the Ryder Cup now. He's the one who stayed. He showed so much guts in Italy a couple years ago, and I think they will bring him as sort of the elder statesman. So those are my 12. He's at the SPN. I can't believe he shot 5 under this week or whatever he shot, because I feel like every time I saw him, he was hitting a ridiculously horrible golf shot. We're going to talk about that. But yeah, we got some Ryder Cup clarity this week. These are my 12 on each side. You got any thoughts, any takeaways?
Yeah, I would say this is the first week where I feel optimistic about the American team's chances. And that
Xander helped, Bryson helped, Harris English helped, Russell Henley helped. Gotterup has some energy.
Looking at Ben Griffin too, just knowing that, like, I know he can, if he brings that swagger, he's going to be an X factor. Like, Gotterup can be a real X factor. Harman can fly under the radar. What is scary is that they have a guy like Fitzpatrick trending in the right direction, and we have Morikawa sort of trending in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Those two guys head.
Even JT, right? Like, we saw so much earlier this year, but it's really kind of hit a wall in the major season. So,
another thought I had while you were going through this was that the Justin Thomas captained American Ryder Cup team of the future is going to be unstoppable. He might win like 8 in a row and just be like the most. I don't know what it is. It just hit me. I'm like, that's our future.
That's the captain that you're most looking forward to.
Like, if he's the guy that gets picked on like homie merit last time, like, that's the perfect captain for the next time.
Well, they talk about, like, and Keegan's talking about this sort of jokingly of like the boys club. I feel like JT is like the president of the boys club.
President of the boys club.
Yeah, he's like
captain.
Yeah, he's like he's the guy. He's the center of the sort of social
Zach
scene.
Johnson, who thinks he's the head of the boys.
Yeah, he's earned it. Yeah,